It was barely past 7 on a crystal-clear Saturday morning in Pine Ridge Estates, the kind of Colorado foothill neighborhood that looked like a postcard until you read the 30-page HOA rulebook. And there it sat, Victoria Langford's pearl-white BMW, parked sideways across my driveway like it owned the gravel and the mortgage. Victoria herself leaned against the hood, arms folded, clipboard gleaming like a holy relic, her Botox-tight smile already practicing the sermon about community standards. I killed the Massey Ferguson's engine before it even warmed up and hopped down from the cab. "Victoria, move your car. I've got fence posts to set on the back acre before the sun gets high." She didn't even blink. Section 4.2, subsection C, Mr. Harlan. No heavy equipment operation before 9 a.m. noise pollution. Eyesore in a residential zone. I've warned you twice. I laughed once, short and dry. It's a tractor on my own property, not a rave. And you're blocking a private driveway, illegally. Her eyebrow arched like it might snap. Enforcing rules is never illegal. The board voted last month. Your hobby farm violates the aesthetic covenant. Grass over 4 inches, visible equipment, shall I continue? That was the moment the air got thick. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten. I simply climbed back into the cab, eased the loader bucket low, and reversed in one smooth, practiced arc. 30 seconds later the BMW was kissing the bottom of the drainage ditch beside my property line. Tires up, sunroof caved, leather seats drinking ditch water like fine wine. Not a scratch on the tractor. Victoria's scream could have peeled paint off a barn. "You just destroyed my property," she shrieked, voice cracking like cheap porcelain. I cut the engine again and strolled over. "Nah, I relocated an obstruction. Your car was parked on private land without permission, and every second of it is on 4 different security cameras, audio included." I pointed up at the pole-mounted system I'd installed after her last surprise inspection, for my American flag being 3 inches too tall. By noon the whole cul-de-sac had front-row seats. A tow truck winched the ruined BMW out while neighbors sipped coffee on their porches, pretending not to smirk. Victoria paced in her tailored pantsuit, already on the phone demanding an emergency board meeting. "This man is a menace. He must be removed from the community." The city code enforcement officer who showed up an hour later was maybe 28, nervous, and clutching his clipboard like a life raft. He took one look at the video on my laptop, Victoria refusing to move, arms crossed, lecturing me about civic duty, and cleared his throat. "Ma'am, you were trespassing and obstructing ingress and egress." His equipment use was lawful agricultural purpose on his own land. This was unconventional but not criminal. Victoria's face went the color of spoiled milk. "You're siding with him?" The kid shrugged. "I'm siding with the footage. And the law. That should have ended it. It didn't." By Monday the HOA hit me with a $5,000 special assessment for emotional distress to the president and unauthorized property modification. Victoria's email was a masterpiece of passive-aggressive corporate speak. "We regret that you chose confrontation over cooperation, but rules exist for a reason, Jake." I sat on my porch that night with a cold beer and the HOA's public meeting minutes I'd been quietly archiving for months. Turns out Victoria had been slipping in new rules during emergency votes with zero notice. Exactly the procedural violations she loved fining everyone else for. Even better, a line item labeled Administrative Fleet Maintenance for $18,400 paid to a company called Summit Ridge Services. Never heard of them. Quick online search? Shell company registered to 1 Preston Langford, Victoria's son, age 24, currently between ventures in Denver. I smiled into the dark like a man who'd just found the loose thread on a very expensive sweater. The next morning I hand-delivered a neatly bound complaint package to the county auditor's office and CC'd the state HOA oversight board. 48 hours later a formal audit notice landed on Victoria's desk. She tried to spin it as routine transparency, but the board members she'd bullied for years suddenly remembered they had spines. 2 resigned by Wednesday. The 3rd quietly leaked the financials to me. The real bomb dropped on Friday. The audit revealed Victoria had funneled $212,000 of HOA dues through the fake company. Payments for tree trimming that never happened, lake house maintenance on a property titled to her son, even monthly board retreat, expenses at the same lake house. Every receipt forged with board signatures she'd never shown anyone. That afternoon 2 unmarked sheriff's SUVs rolled down the street. Victoria answered the door in silk pajamas and full makeup, as if expecting a photo op. The deputies didn't smile. They walked out 15 minutes later with laptops, hard drives, and a banker's box of color-coded intimidation files, handwritten dossiers on every homeowner, complete with notes like chronic lawn rebel and suspected liberal mailbox color. The neighborhood watched from behind curtains, phones recording, and for the first time in years nobody looked scared. They looked relieved. 2 weeks later the state yanked Victoria from office, placed the HOA under temporary receivership, and opened criminal charges: embezzlement, wire fraud, forgery, and unlawful surveillance. At the first open community meeting I stood up, laid out every documented violation in plain English, and proposed term limits, public ledgers, and a rotating counsel instead of a dictator with a clipboard. Not a single hand opposed. Victoria's trial was swift. The judge called her a textbook example of power without accountability. The jury took 90 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Restitution ordered. Lifetime ban from any HOA board in Colorado. Her lake house went on the auction block. Her son's shell company dissolved before lunch. I never wanted to run the HOA. But when the residents voted me acting president, unopposed, I accepted. First order of business: ditch the 4-inch grass rule. Second, install the community basketball hoop the kids had begged for 3 years. Third, actually fix the drainage ditch that had flooded 6 times under Victoria's watch. Last month a little girl on a pink bike stopped at my porch. "Mr. Jake, my dad says you're the tractor hero who got rid of the mean lady." I laughed. Just a guy who got tired of being told how to live on land he paid for. The neighborhood doesn't look dramatically different. Lawns still neat, flags still waving, but the air feels lighter. People leave their garage doors open again. Kids ride bikes after dark. Someone even painted their front door bright teal without a $250 fine notice. So here's the question that still keeps half the porch conversations going after 2 beers. Was I the villain for flipping one luxury SUV that was illegally blocking my driveway, or was the real criminal the woman who spent years weaponizing community standards to steal from her own neighbors and spy on their lives? Because in the end, the only thing that got truly demolished that Saturday morning wasn't a BMW. It was an entire empire built on fear and fake rules, and she wrote every single clause herself.